Alright, I think we're all ready to go now. We got ourselves a best of 5 TVP finals. A little bit faster than anticipated because Cure, unfortunately, just entirely AFK'd. We don't know where he went. But we are here. Bottom left, Sidestorm Gaming's MaxPax. Top right, unteamed GuMiHo. Has yet to find a team. We're starting on a Rodset Station, which to my knowledge means house station. One of the few maps in recent memory that kind of encourages a default 3-base setup. The only complication is that there's a couple of mineral patches, but that's really not a big complication, especially for Terrans who just build their command center off to the side anyway. It can take a long time to mine that out. But it does encourage a solid 3-base setup, and then the actual map itself encourages some interesting development of play. It has very few contested maps. Maps that get, or bases, sorry, contested bases. Bases that start to squeeze you and your opponent together on the map and really force you to engage or dig in your heels and say, no, this is mine, no, this is mine. Mass spore crawlers, mass cannons, you know, that type of thing. So, depending, you know, on how you slice it, I guess it actually seems like it's better. It certainly has given us a couple of really cool macro games so far. MaxPax played a pretty epic one versus Clem with a mothership recall on this map, which is pretty cool. And then we had Dark versus Cure, which I lagged out of, unfortunately. But that was a really good TVZ yesterday. And so it does seem to be a map that we might learn to enjoy if the players play it. Right now, it's not the map naturally chosen in a best of 3 too often. But you see that the bases are just very much on, like, your side of the map. And then the only contested bases would kind of be these ones, which are the gold as well, but even that's pretty far away. So GuMiHo is going for 3 racks. Wait, no. I'm sorry, he's going for 2 racks. That's just the second barracks, not a 3 barracks. He's just going for 2 racks. MaxPax did scout this. Pretty easy to scout that with a probe. Ever find his mouse? I did. Talking about cats. We have a Zealot. I know that sounds, I was distracted, but a Zealot definitely went across the map and is now chopping up SCVs. Unfortunately for GuMiHo. Oh. Unfortunately for GuMiHo. Oh, MaxPax didn't actually stay on top of the squad depot. He was building add-ons. He only had a single Marine. Fortunately, his command center is finished and orbital as well, and technically he can produce SCVs, but as you can see, they're being chased down. So it's not the worst thing ever. Now he has 3 Marines production at a time, which is pretty solid, even as MaxPax might be continuing to send units across the map. There's the second Adept, in fact. He's going to need to wait for 3 more Marines, I would think. Yes, indeed. The second Adept went on a cheap goose chase, actually, so he could respond to that with his initial Marines. Nonetheless, a bit of hubbub that favors MaxPax as he also grabs a mule. Oh. That's pain right there. And that is eventually cleaned up. Oh, look at this. MaxPax is a bit of a throwback build. He doesn't really go for Dark Shrine builds too often anymore, but that's what he's doing here. I mean, he very successfully bothered the early game of a Terran player who is obviously prioritizing barracks production. This is not someone who's going into a fast 1-1-1 and then who may or may not get a Raven. You know, definitely a higher chance that they get a Raven if they actually have a starport. So I really like this for MaxPax. GuMiHo's not gotten any scouting. He didn't open up the Reaper. He's not gotten any pressure because he was the one that was pressured, and his starport is naturally later with his opener. All good things to go into a Dark Shrine build with. Warp Prism will be out, or is out. It is already out, my bad, and we'll be warping in just about 10 seconds here. Now, professional Terrans, pretty good about having scans available just in case this is a thing. But scans do not make the defense all by their lonesome. Usually goes for the mule. Scan will be ready in the natural. In fact, that was actually an almost really well-timed missile turret, but not quite. And now DTs in the main. This is already good damage, basically. You know, unless the DTs are immediately caught with a scan, it's good damage. Oh, the DT in the natural not being microed. He was too busy microing the ones in the main base. Definitely a lost opportunity there. But still, costing 2 scans and missile turrets and further DT harassment in the future, I'd say this is still pretty good. It did feel like it was supposed to do more, but it is what it is. MaxPax third Nexus on the way, very well protected on this base. Blink is on the way as well. And further harassment with the Warp Prism is possible, both DTs and Zealots in the future. Getting whatever he possibly can, including one-shotting these Marines, taking down some of the army. Because that would be the worry, is that the army would eventually come across the map while you only have maybe an Archon, which, I mean, Archon's pretty good, of course, but... No, in this case, decent amount of Marines were killed in the early harassment, I suppose. It wasn't a 3 racks that might be so bold as to just YOLO, which I don't think would actually happen, but some people would. It is 2 Raxes with an okay number of Marines, delaying the medevac production to opt for a Viking, and MaxPax has plenty of time to not even recover, because again, I think he did an okay amount of damage. Just, you know, enough to build an army. Ooh, combat shieldless, medevacless Marines against 2 Archons. This could win the game. This did win the game. GG's. Game number 2 is going to be on Solaris. On the top right, it is MaxPax. Bottom left, GuMiHo. MaxPax giving us a fairly fast game number 1. I did like the DT follow-up, considering what he saw and the damage he was doing. But then to get the 2 Archons in there is especially brutal. You could kind of blame GuMiHo to a certain extent. I mean, you could blame him all you want, I guess, but what I'm thinking of is that you can kind of blame him for trying to tackle the 2 Archons. If he had taken 1 second, which is hard in professional StarCraft 2, actually, and just been like, oh, if I engage, I could die, because my Marines are combat shieldless and medevacless, and already injured as well. Maybe I should just evacuate. Which doesn't put him in a good position anyway. And that's the easy argument to make, is that GuMiHo probably already knew that he was in a freak ton of trouble. So that was more of a, whatever, than it was a, I don't know, over-microing, whatever you want to call it. Like, he might have already been pretty resigned, as he might be resigned again, as the probe found his barracks. But yeah, he could have tried to evacuate first, and then waited for his combat shields and medevacs, and then he would have been able to take care of the Archons, evacuate his SCVs too to reduce the number of SCVs killed, but it still would have been a very unpleasant game for him, especially without any ability to immediately punish MaxPax because of the map design. But it is what it is. It happens to the best of us, clearly. GuMiHo, very good Terran, still got kind of bopped by the DT thing in general. Proxy Rax was found out, but in a very clever location, so the SCV has multiple chances to get stuck into a position where the probe couldn't attack it. And MaxPax, well, still has to deal with the Proxy Reaper, but knowing 100% what it is and where it's coming from, that's good stuff. You could guess that's what it is as soon as you saw the lack of barracks over at this base, but to know 100% is pretty good. And, ooh, that grenade did not really favor the Reaper so much. I would say it's difficult to lose the Reaper versus the Zealot, but, you know, I've done it. I've done it. Not gonna lie. Stalker's being chronoed, and that will further complete the defense. Natural has a pylon, which, you know, that there's no follow-up pressure, really, because the probe did see the factory. It's still in here, in fact. Kind of worth it for the SCV. Worth it for the probe, if an SCV is being forced to follow it. Probes instantly slap down buildings. SCVs have to build buildings. Probe harassment OP. I can just Yakuza the finger off. Yakuza. Oh. Alright, Stargate's going to be the option for MaxPax. Cyclone's coming out for GuMiHo. It is a factory expand after that proxy barracks after all, but the Cyclone's going to have to go a fair distance across the map. And then there might be a shield battery. In fact, there will be. MaxPax not taking any chances with some type of follow-up Cyclone shenanigans, because clearly that's very, very possible in today's meta with a factory expand. He'd probably be fine anyway, but, you know, shield battery is definitely safe. 100 extra minerals for peace of mind. Stargate's going to give him Phoenix, first and foremost. So a little Phoenix Colossus, most likely, to be the play. I did see yesterday someone try Phoenix Charge, but who the hell was it? I don't know. Some Protoss. I don't know. It wasn't Hero because he got knocked out faster than I got to cast him. Some Protoss. So that didn't work out anyway, which there was other reasons why it didn't work out. But Phoenix Charge has really just not been very popular in the last 6 to 12 months. It's been a while. Well, I guess Katowice, I'd say, was still totally possible. So yeah, maybe 6 months. It's not been very popular. Phoenix Colossus, definitely the way to go, especially now with the Raven not being as powerful. You can still get the Raven. You can still get the Interference Matrix. And for Koreans, they were fine going into a Raven against Phoenix play. But it is a little less effective. You can't disagree with that. It is literally what happens when you have to afford an upgrade. In this case, GuMiHo's not even adding on a starport, so totally unimportant. Went up to 4 barracks after the factory. Well, obviously one was the proxy barracks. So it's not... It'd look less weird if it was just 3 barracks in a factory. But the point is, delayed his starport. It's gonna have a hefty amount of bio on the ground, but a later actual push, something that the Phoenix should have been able to scout right then and there. Yep, they definitely saw that. MaxPax, 2 base, Robo, safety first. 3rd Nexus will be on the way very soon, however. And a scout on whether or not this kind of medevacless Ragtime army is actually going to push out. I guess he could literally do a 2 base push. But you know, Moondance 2 map pools ago was pretty popular for this, and then it really fell off. I think Protoss players got better at dealing with any type of 2 base starportless push in general. And MaxPax is set up in a pretty safe way, too. It's not that he delayed his robotics bay to grab that 3rd Nexus first. He got that first. He scouts the move out and says, oh, okay, this is what you're doing, and then just further delays his 3rd Nexus. His production might be a little lackluster with his gateway count, but I really think that he's fine. A forward shield battery, too. I mean, he picked up on the whole, you know, starportless push much faster than I did, but it doesn't have to be all in. Going up this ramp. Yeah, gonna be able to do that. That's fine. Oh, Rallying Phoenix. Not what you want to have happen, but Colossus is out. The forward shield battery will be killed. But a necessary sacrifice. The first shield battery is still doing its job. Missile turrets are almost done. Now it's time to go with the Phoenix. They do lift the tanks. One of them will die to the Cyclone. Another one's going to get focus fired. 2 more get focus fired, actually, by the Marines. Nonetheless, still doing the good job here. Immortal takes out the tanks. Colossus took out the Marines. And now... Oh, please, don't lose the Colossus to a missile turret. Oh, please, love of God. But now... Oh, extended thermal lance, please. Oh, it's going to burn. It's going to burn. It's going to burn. There we go. Nexus is almost done, so it's pretty healthy. Probably won't fall to these Marines, and GuMiHo is going to have to abandon ship. 2 Colossus now out, more reinforcements through, and the Immortal still alive, getting its barrier back. Means that MaxPax does hold. It definitely was not as easy. Losing that rallying Phoenix, and not really being able to use the forward shield battery as much as one would hope. Sure. But GuMiHo, did he find enough damage there for real? I'm not so sure. Significant delay on his 3rd CC after all. Decent trade of the army, too, even though GuMiHo does still retain quite a bit. I guess the Phoenix... Oh, no, another Phoenix gets taken down, too. Yeah, the Phoenix pretty much all going down is a pretty big blow to the Protoss player, not gonna lie. Yeah, I guess that was worth it for GuMiHo. 3rd to see on location. Since he does have tank and further tank production, he will feel fairly comfortable against the Colossus pressure. If MaxPax were to try tank siege up, you can't really get close. And now with the Phoenix gone, GuMiHo is going to try and take advantage of some drops. Yeah, those Phoenix being killed in the battle really was significant. Blink will eventually be on the way, but first you do have to grab that charge, buff up the army a little bit. 3rd Nexus now going to be under fire. I don't know by how much, to be honest. I think it's more distraction than anything else. 3 Colossus to shield battery, and the ramp definitely advantage to the Protoss. But it could be a distraction for the double drop in the main base. Target fire does take out one of the medevacs with a couple of units inside. Still, blinkless, currently chargeless zealots as well. Defending. That's enough stalkers. Yep, Warp In's gonna do the trick. No punish on the second medevac, but still a good handling of the situation. Panic could have set in. It could have gone much worse for MaxPax. GuMiHo retreating with the bulk of the army. Left his tanks at home, really, for the most part anyway. Again, pretty protected against this Colossus move out. MaxPax kind of within his rights, I suppose, of the situation to actually at least pressure, but I just don't expect much, but he's going to do the same thing. More of a distraction than an actual attempt to get on top of that third base. Ooh, and spoilery news. Clem apparently won the European Cup, so he now matches here Marine's record. Colossus do find an angle of attack on the orbital command. Zealots are exchanging lives for SCVs and a bit of bio, too. So good distraction from MaxPax. Strong play from the European Protoss. More Zealot harassment as well. And the War Prism should be totally fine on the escape. Fourth base on the way for the Protoss as well. Only a single forge. So GuMiHo's upgrades will hold strong. It will have a very powerful army, especially when those tanks are sieged up appropriately. But MaxPax has definitely taken control of the situation. I don't know what just died right there. What did I miss? What did I miss? What did I miss? Made me observer. Fortunately, didn't miss super important things, because the main army does look still intact. Charge is done, +1 is done. Again, out-upgraded by the Terran. But now we got some disruptors who don't care about upgrades. Archon's coming in, too, from the Templar Archives. GuMiHo does not have access to EMPs, and not yet on a good number of Vikings, either. The tank's kind of covering that job, but getting more nullified, or potentially nullified, by charge lots. Not these charge lots. They were not very effective. Running face first into the better upgraded bio. Here come the Colossus now, and Zealots coming on the backside. That's what you want. And now the collapse. GuMiHo supply is strong, but the angle is good for MaxPax. The Zealots do deplete, but the army of the Terran also starting to deplete. It was injured, didn't have a lot of medevac healing either. And it looks like it will be able to stand its ground, but losing the tanks. Oh, the last Colossus does get taken down. That's another stem on a very injured army. Can the rest of the Protoss army do the trick? I'm not so sure. The Archon goes down. The charge lot reinforcements might not be enough. It is very desperate times here for MaxPax, but it looks like more charge lots came in from the north side, and the super injured Terran force will not be good enough to overwhelm this third base. The injured bio is really the reason GuMiHo didn't just straight up win right there. Because the tanks did appropriately focus fire the Colossus. The back line charge lots were just immediately demolished by the bio. And if the medevac count was higher, if less stims were required, that could have been game over. I mean, now MaxPax has gotten over that very important threshold, even upgrades, more Archons, still no EMPs available, shield battery still intact. More reinforcements coming through. He is caught a little off guard, however, didn't realize the army was there, I suppose. Now taking a fight that I don't think he's going to win. Charge lots dissipating means that the rest of the army is a little vulnerable. One Immortal going to get caught, kind of forced stand his ground, but the Archon's super awkward in this particular junction. Zealots are attacking the third base as well as going into the natural, but Liberators siege up, and that might not get a whole lot done for MaxPax. Zealots in the main base as well. So the Liberators help the third in the natural, but the Zealots in the main, that is going to be a little bit more to tackle. Vikings take out the Warp Prism, so that'll be the last warp in for a little while, but it is a very important little breathing room opportunity for MaxPax. He's going to do more than just breathe. He's actually going to aggress. If there were a couple of EMPs, literally just a couple of EMPs, this army would be so much more vulnerable, but GuMiHo still does not have any ghosts out, despite having the Ghost Academy. 14 SCVs were killed, army once again getting overstimmed just by the lack of medevac count. MaxPax was comfortably on 4 bases, well, almost uncomfortably, his third was under attack, but he's been on 4 bases for a while. 5th base also on the way. In fact, getting saturated as I'm speaking. Finally adding on his own upgrade too, so he'll have an upgrade lead for a minute and a half. GuMiHo's 2-2 was delayed. That happens in this matchup. That's not necessarily a mistake, but Still kind of worried about GuMiHo's army quality. Just the injured army aspect is really concerning. EMP still not available. Disruptors also back on the front lines. Trying to get some shots here. Fifth base now saturated, but tons of zealots looking for probably a run by. GuMiHo's army taking a forward stance. Something that MaxPax might pick up on. Now the tank kind of dissuades him from looking any further. Could have a little bit of a base trade situation. GuMiHo sneaking past. The pressure of MaxPax finds a completely open nexus. I'm not even sure a recall would have been good there, to be honest. I'm not sure about that, so maybe a blessing in disguise to lose the Nexus before the recall. Colossus comes up to help out this main army, and I'd say like Colossus is rather important, really helpful when it comes to shaving off the SCVs, although the Archons are doing plenty good jobs on that. Disruptor gonna take it out? No, not quite, but the Viking, that would have been devastating. Bio getting super stimmed again. I gotta keep mentioning this, the Medivacs are completely out of juice. Dark Shrine does get taken down. Before DTs were already made. We do not have a Raven, and we're losing access to our orbitals. That is a problem. Liberator does get destroyed. Army of the Protoss now entering into the main of the Terran. Ditto on the other side, however. The Terran now entering into the Protoss' main. One DT at a time is going to be hella obnoxious, however. Targeting the Forge, making sure +3 is denied. 2-2 finishes for GuMiHo. So that's some good news for the Terran, but the fact is, scans are going to be a rare commodity, and we still have 2 more DTs. If the other orbital has to lift... 3 of them lifted right now, or about to be. There's not going to be any scans. Not only that, the super injured army is seriously a problem. We've got Zealots and an Archon being built up to the left side. No shield battery. We did lose access to the 7X course. That makes sense, I guess. Scan reveals that there is something there. It's something that he could micro against, theoretically, but some of these army... Yeah, the army can't even be scanned, stimmed, rather. And it looks like that is going to be it. Just acknowledging the army is too powerful for MaxPax in general. And MaxPax will take a 2-0 lead. Yeah, I love how chat was like, "Yeah, don't worry about it, it's fine." Oh, it's been 10 days? Oh god, you're gonna die. Ah! In the top left of Oceanborn, now up 2-0, he is MaxPax. Bottom right, we have GuMiHo. I wouldn't say that GuMiHo's TVP really comes to mind when I think of GuMiHo. TVT... and actually kind of TVZ, especially thanks to his Yangshping run. TVP, not really. I think TVP for GuMiHo does look like those past 2 games a decent amount, which it seems to always be something pretty crucial missing from his mid to late game TVP. So not as active as he should be, not as not balancing his composition as he should be. A lack of medevac sounds familiar, actually, from previous GuMiHo TVP casts. Having some strong moments leading up to the mid-game, as Terran typically does, but then not able to really capitalize as much as possible. Kind of all sounds familiar for GuMiHo. MaxPax did have some of his own potential problems, but overall handled it quite well. The push and pull of his army movement worked out well enough, leading to the final moment of the base trade, which he was winning from the get-go, but things can always get a little weird in base trades. They would have been weirder, I think, if GuMiHo had A, 6 medevacs with energy, and B, a couple more liberators blocking out his main base production. And then, yeah, that's kind of a weird situation for Protoss as well. But hey, look at this. Barracks lifted. You don't see this too often. The assimilator might... Actually, even when it's done, I might not still see it. Typically, would the assimilator be on the left side? Probably, yeah. Kind of, you know, the side that which you build your wall to help out the Reaper. And yeah, I was right, doesn't still see it. So nice planning here from GuMiHo. Not the first map in the history of StarCraft 2 that had enough range for the barracks to land, but this is fun. MaxPax knows it's a proxy, but unlike last time, he doesn't know what type of proxy it is. And he certainly doesn't know that it's in his main base. We do have a little bit of room as well for the Marauders to stick themselves when the probes get pulled against them. Really nicely planned out little cheese here. Marauders do have a weakness, and that is kind of probes this early on. If they get fully surrounded, their slow damage doesn't work out super well against probes. Shield battery in the natural. MaxPax is waiting, man. He's like, what the hell are you doing? Shield battery in the main, too. I think more so for a potential Hellion. Didn't realize this would be happening, but that shield battery is going to help nonetheless. There's that Hellion. It is just one. Like, I was thinking more he was expecting maybe like a Hellion drop, even though he did see the factory only in the backside here. And so with the shield battery, that overcharge, woo! Which I think was just barely in time. I don't know, 8-point ranger. And anyway, that might be good enough. Probes are not going to get this around, unfortunately, but that once the Marauder is going to die, even without the surround, the probe's still tanking, and in fact, getting a little bit of a surround there. Now, GuMiHo's plan does not work out. MaxPax, dominating 3-0, wins EPT in North America against GuMiHo. Wow. That was way more convincing than I thought it would be. But yeah, just kind of thinking on it, TVP is not exactly where I have the most faith in GuMiHo, but I think it would usually be a little better. MaxPax does seem to be on the forefront of this matchup.